Spiritual reflections, tattoos, and spirituality, truths, reflections, and myths from the other side. Will people with tattoos have to answer for them on the spiritual plane? Can marking the body with ink also mark the spirit? And what about the rumored Valley of the Tattooed? Does it really exist? If so, what happens to the spirits taken there? Today, more than just answering questions, we're going to shed light on the topic of tattoos from a spiritual perspective, based on the teachings of a spiritual doctrine that originated in France and is widely followed in Brazil and other parts of the world, and from the reflections of spiritual authors. Prepare to dive into a topic that goes far beyond ink on skin. We're going to talk about vibration, intention, spiritual memory, and most importantly, the evolution of the soul, the visible mark and the invisible mark. From the earliest times in human history, people have marked their skin with symbols, colors, and designs. The oldest tattooed body ever found belonged to a man who lived more than 5,000 years ago in the region that is now the border between Austria and Italy. This man, known as Ötzi the Iceman, had no less than 61 tattoos scattered across his body. Tattoos, therefore, are not a modern invention. They have crossed millennia and are present in almost all cultures, carrying a variety of meanings: tribal identity, spiritual protection, artistic expression, or marks of transition, among others. But what does this have to do with the spiritual world? Does the spirit care about tattoos? This is the question many people ask. Will a tattoo affect my spiritual evolution? The specific spiritual doctrine we are discussing, a school of thought rooted in 19th century teachings, doesn't directly condemn tattoos. In its foundational texts, there is no specific disapproval of the act of getting a tattoo. What truly matters to the spiritual realm is not what is on the skin, but what is in the heart. However, like everything in life, the intention behind an action is what determines its vibrational charge. The controversial Valley of the Tattooed, reality or allegory. A well-known book in spiritualist circles, Más allá de mi mirada, describes a supposed Valley of the Tattooed, a dark region of the lower astral realm where spirits with heavily tattooed bodies are said to gather. The description is striking: a city with no light, no water, and no order, where spirits live as if they were prisoners of their own pain. According to the account, this place isn't for all tattooed people, but only for those who use their bodies to express deep-seated imbalances, or who got tattoos of violent or criminal symbols, or symbols tied to perversity. But it is crucial to remember that this book is not part of the foundational teachings. It presents one medium's specific experience, and like all spiritual accounts, it should be read with discernment. Spiritual literature is full of symbolism that should not always be interpreted literally. The soul body and tattoos, is there damage? An important point that always comes up is, does a tattoo damage my soul body? Let's understand this. The soul body, or perispirit, is the semi-material body that connects the spirit to the physical body. It registers impressions, emotions, traumas, and memories, serving as the energetic blueprint for the physical body. In the spiritual work, Evolution in Two Worlds, it is explained that an act only becomes imprinted on the soul body when there is a mental fixation or strong emotional charge associated with it. In other words, a tattoo will only mark the soul body if it's tied to dense emotions, traumas, or negative intentions. If you got a tattoo of a flower because you thought it was beautiful, or a phrase that inspires you, there is no negative vibrational charge in that. But if someone tattoos violent symbols, dark invocations, or makes it a form of worship of violence, the energy changes completely. Birthmarks, spiritual legacies, Another interesting point is the idea that people who get tattoos in one lifetime might be reborn with birthmarks or spots. Yes, this can happen. But again, it's not a punishment. The mark is simply a vibrational reflection that the soul body carries, and as it shapes the new physical body, it can imprint these marks on the flesh, especially if there was spiritual obsession, trauma, or guilt involved. But this is not a universal rule. The real danger: intentions, not designs. Let's get to the most important point of all. The tattoo itself is not the problem. What matters is the vibration with which it was made. If it expresses love, art, faith, or overcoming a challenge, everything is fine. But if it's the result of hate, rebellion, or a connection to crime or violence, then it can attract negative spiritual influences because these vibrations remain anchored in the person's energetic field. Once again, spirituality teaches us that we reap what we vibrate, not what we tattoo. So, does a valley just for the tattooed really exist? Honestly, no one can say for sure. What we know from countless serious accounts in spiritual literature is that there are many different spiritual planes, some denser than others, where spirits gather based on vibrational affinity. If something like the Valley of the Tattooed exists, it wouldn't be a place where all tattooed people go, but rather a vibrational space where those who are unbalanced and use tattoos as a reflection of their pain, rebellion, or inner turmoil gather. The true damage to the spirit. Don't worry about your tattoo. Worry about what you feel, what you think, what you do to others, what you hold in your heart. These are the invisible but deep tattoos that follow us through lifetimes and often determine our spiritual companions. The true harm to the soul body does not come from ink on the skin, but from offensive words, obsessive thoughts, drugs, alcohol and addictions, envy, resentment and malice. These are the tattoos that are truly difficult to erase. In summary, what do spiritual teachings say about tattoos? There is no automatic condemnation for people with tattoos. The most important thing is the intention with which they are made. The soul body only records what is fixed with strong, imbalanced emotions. Judgment doesn't come from a higher power, but from the vibration you carry. Spiritual evolution depends on your daily choices, not your appearance. You are free, but you are also responsible. Get your tattoos with awareness. Take care of your body, your spirit, and your energetic field. And if you already have tattoos and were worried after hearing about the Valley of the Tattooed, relax. You are not condemned. You are a work in progress, just like all of us. Finally, an invitation to inner peace. If this content brought clarity, comfort, or reflection to your heart, please like, share, and comment. Spreading spiritual knowledge is an act of love and charity. A tattoo can fade, the physical body can fade, but the spirit is eternal, and it is the spirit that should be tattooed with the marks of love, wisdom, and light. So be it.